Okay, so Little Women, directed by Greta Gerwig. Is it a bad movie? No, it's not a bad movie. The best way to think about this movie is to think about it like a roller coaster, okay? So, you know, you're doing a roller coaster. You go up this really steep hill and you just keep going up. It takes so long. You are going so slow. The only thing that makes it enjoyable is the anticipation of the drop, okay? You're anticipating that drop. That's what's going to be fun. This movie is that. But instead of just one huge hill, it keeps happening over and over and over and over again. Until finally, with like 30 minutes left in the film, it's consistently enjoyable. It's a slow movie with too little emotional resonance, at least for me personally, to make the slow parts worth it. I don't care about the characters much at all, honestly. They were fine. I just didn't care. Joe is the only character that I would say has enough screen time to develop like real emotional connection to. I never really did, and I love the actress. I think Saoirse Ronan is a incredible actress. She's great. Brooklyn is a great movie she was in. Lady Bird. Well, she's also a great voice actress. While I'm on that, the cast was good, with the exception of Emma Watson. She was Emma Watson, which is just fake smiles, fake laughs. She was definitely the weakest part of the cast. Had she had a bigger role, it probably would have hurt the movie a lot. Having such a minor role, it was fine. A huge problem with the cast, though, wasn't necessarily that there was bad acting. A huge problem was ages. Like, everyone's just like the same age, and especially when they're teenagers, it makes no sense. Or not even teenagers, when they're like kids, when they're like 10. And I'm sorry, like 20-year-olds, older teens should not play 10-year-olds. It just doesn't look good. For the most part, the cast was fine. Meryl Streep actually did fantastic. Obviously, she's a great actress. A big problem with the movie is the cinematography. It's just kind of ugly. Like, nothing, there's no pretty shots. And I feel like with a period piece, a period drama piece, an adaptation of a book, you need an aesthetic. And this movie just doesn't have that. It's got a camera pointed at action. I feel like none of the shots were meant to be visceral. They were just meant to convey the story as raw information. There's like 2 shots that I would say are pretty, have any aesthetic value at all. Also, towards the beginning of the movie, there's like slow motion kind of scattered a bit, and it's just weird and kind of stupid because it serves no purpose. I think it's trying to serve a purpose, but it doesn't. I don't think it serves the purpose it thinks it is. It was distracting. But fortunately, it was not throughout the movie. It was just in, I don't know, the first 20 minutes probably. The cinematography is just okay. Like, it's fine. You can tell it's made by competent people, but it's not made by people who had any level of genius. You know, it's not inspirational at all. It's just like, this is the shot I learned in a book. I mean, that's kind of what it felt like. So it's like technically a good movie, but it's also like just a movie. There isn't like that stroke of genius that I could see. The biggest problem with the movie is not that it's bad, because it's not bad. It's not bad by any means. It's just simply not remarkable. There's 2 scenes that I would say are more than passable. For the most part, it's a passable movie. And the two scenes are, number one, when Joe and Marmee are talking about love. I think that scene is really good. There's intimate moments in it that I think work really well, but it only works when there's like two characters. Otherwise, the movie feels really, really crowded, and I don't think it quite knows what to do with that. Then another scene that I think works really well is Laura Dern has a scene where she is mourning, and I think it works really well. It's really well acted at that point. But the thing about Little Women as a story is it's not a story per se. It's more like, here's a scene, here's a scene, here's a scene, we're all married. So I feel as though adapting it into a movie is an awkward endeavor because it doesn't flow. The story does not flow like a movie. It's not like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So I think this movie tried to remedy that by having two timelines intercut. But in my opinion, that just made it confusing without needing to be. After a couple minutes like that, it was fine. But I don't think it added to it. Like, typically it would cut back to the past whenever something emotional was happening in the present that was similar or connected to something that happened in the past. But for the most part, I don't think the emotional connections were there. It was just kind of like, this should have been a linear story. The only time I think it actually did work and elevated it was when Jo is talking to the publisher about whether or not her character gets married. But that's more played for humor. I don't think a good joke's good enough to justify the way that was cut. But that being said, now that we're on humor, the movie does have some good humor, which is definitely needed. Without the humor, this movie wouldn't even be a roller coaster. It would just be a broken cart. The humor's good. Though a lot of times the humor comes across as so mean that it makes you just not like the characters. I found myself just really not liking the characters several times because of that. Yeah, in the end, is it a good movie? Yeah. But here's the thing. This is the 7th film adaptation of Little Women. Granted, several of those have been lost. But we have a lot. Not to mention television, miniseries. There's been a lot of adaptations of this. Is this one the best? Does it justify its own existence? Well, I don't know. I've only seen one of the other adaptations, and there was a 90s one with Winona Ryder and Christian Bale. I don't really remember it. I remember not liking it. I remember it being boring. That was a few years ago. I should revisit it. And I should visit for the very first time some of the other ones. There's also 2 anime adaptations, one of which I began watching tonight. It was actually really good. So, here's what's happening, guys. Forget about this movie. I'm exploring every single adaptation of Little Women that I can find. When? In the year 2020, which is this year. And I will, mark my words, I will find the very best Little Women adaptation. You know what? Probably in the end, I'll just say the book's the best. But maybe not. Maybe something's better than the book. We've had a lot of retellings of this story. Pureflix even did one. That one's going to be the best. I just know it. But we will see. We will see. This is what we have to look forward to. Little Women.